the Desert Tiger Podcast.
Hello, Ambush. We are here with a Forrest Eaglespeaker of country music bluegrass duo, The North Sound. How is it going today, Forrest?
I'm doing okay, man. How are you doing?
Having a lovely day, and it's always good when you get to A, talk to somebody from Saskatchewan, because that's where I'm from, and B, get to talk to an award-winning musician who is doing some big things in their own right, making some big sound.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, that's the benefit of winning an award, is that it kind of gives you some clout, and people all of a sudden think you're important.
Exactly, a little bit of credibility. Now they've done something. Okay, got it, right?
yeah, it's the smoke and mirrors, you know.
Well, I would have enjoyed having you on the show today regardless, because like I say, you guys make incredible music, and we're here today to dive behind some of it. So before we get into your latest single, I'd like to give a little bit of a foundation into the album that it comes from. Your guys' sophomore album there with As the Stars Explode. So sorry about that, notes. So with As the Stars Explode, the first taste of the album actually came in 2018 with Between the Ditches, but the album itself was released in 2020. So what was the process like of crafting and putting this album together? Did it actually, how long did it actually take? Was it all done in one studio? What was the process behind this album?
Yeah, so Between the Ditches had come out, like you said, in 2018. And when we started doing Between the Ditches, we had no idea that it was going to lead to an album. That was the hope, and that was the goal. But at that point, it was just one song, you know. The producer who I worked on the record with, Jesse Wyman, we got acquainted through my father-in-law. My father-in-law was really, I guess he had a hunch, you know. He had a gut feeling that it would work, and so he was pretty hell-bent on connecting us together. And so it started with one song, right? Because we didn't really know each other. We'd never met in the past, and we just wanted to see how it all went. And it became apparent really, really quickly that we that we had something special working together, you know. So we did Between the Ditches, and you know, I was already working on some new music, but Between the Ditches was kind of like, that was the first time that I wrote a song and put something out that I 100% wanted like the sound and like the words and everything, the production and everything. It was without outside influence. It really was just like, well, this is what my soul sounds like. This is what, when I hear music in my head that isn't another song, this is what it sounds like. And it was a really great feeling to be able to do that. And that sort of set the tone for everything that I wrote after that. And, you know, I talk about it where somewhere in between recording and releasing Between the Ditches, to releasing it, I entered into recovery because I struggled with alcohol addiction and drug addiction. And so somewhere in there, I entered into recovery. And so that sort of started to set the stage for the album. And it became, I think the whole thing about it is the whole record just comes from a really honest place. It all just comes from a place that is really within, coming out. And, you know, it was all done at one studio. It was all done at Nolita Studios, with Jesse Wyman. I mean, we actually outsourced some the drums came from a studio in Calgary, actually. So it wasn't all done in one studio. It was done at a couple different studios, but I wasn't there for all of it. So I was only in one studio though. And then I guess it all just sort of came together. It started off as an EP, actually. So it started off as only 5 songs, and then as it is for an independent musician, sometimes you gotta wait for funding, or you gotta sort of figure it out as you go, because music is expensive and it doesn't pay very well. So you gotta figure out sometimes just on the fly, and that's what ended up happening. The 5-track EP turned into a 10-track album, kind of just at the just the drop of a dime. And yeah, there's so much that I could say about the record. I don't really know. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but we're happy that it's out, and it's been going really strong for a solid year now, and it exceeded any expectation that I had.
Absolutely. It's got quite a few things done, and as you said, it continued to evolve as you evolved there, as you say, going through your own recovery. This sort of evolved. So it's almost like this album was almost some form of music therapy for you in a way as well, then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Music has always been therapy for me. It really is. Music has been the only constant, I think, in my life, and the most reliable thing. Steve Earle writes a song called "My Old Friend the Blues." That's kind of the way that music has been for me. It's kind of been, the old reliable. That's kind of what music's always been. And so, yeah, this record, it sort of just happened organically, where a handful of the songs were written in my addiction, at those last days of my addiction, where it was the worst, where what I consider to be my rock bottom. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of songs that are written in there. And there's a couple songs that were written just right before that, so there's definitely a handful of songs that are written in my addiction. And then there's a couple of songs that are written in those early days of recovery, when everything is uncomfortable, like the world is strange and the world is scary, because, the thing about alcoholism is that the alcohol isn't my problem. Alcohol is my solution. Life's my problem, So take away the alcohol, I still got to deal with life. And so everything was uncomfortable. And so some of the songs are written in that sort of space. And then the first song that I ever actually wrote in sobriety, called "Better Days," is also on this record. And that was a big deal for me, because, I had never practiced, performed, or written music sober in my life. I was always on something, because that's what my heroes did. Are you even a rock star if you're not addicted to something? That was the thought process, growing up idolizing people like Steve Earle and Keith Richards. How could I not have a cigarette hanging out my mouth and a bottle of beer there? You know what I mean? So getting over that was actually very difficult. But yeah, it sort of is it's this sort of organic timeline of rock bottom, the pits of hell, to sort of coming out to the other side with a little bit of hope.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of emotions, of giant range there, because I myself have actually also gone through the recovery of alcoholism and addiction there too. And it's exactly as you say, is the world becomes strange because alcohol is celebrated inside of our culture, not just in our heroes, as you say, with like Steve Earle, Keith Richards. And I was definitely one of those people too. I was a punk rocker, and you look at any of the punk rock bands throughout time, and almost all of them have like a big bottle of whiskey or something, and like they're going hard, and like every time you go out, like usually somebody's drinking, and like normally the smell of something wouldn't hit you a certain way, but then like, as you say, the alcohol wasn't your problem, it's life is your problem. And then when you take away one solution, you have to work through, what are my new solutions? What are my new ways of solving problems? What are my, like, it's a lot more than just, I'm going to stop. It's changing your lifestyle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just removing the alcohol is not a solution, because then you're just left with a giant hole.
Hmm.
So you got to find other things to fill that hole with. And yeah, music was definitely one of those things, but it wasn't all of it. I needed other things. I needed other tools.
For sure. As one needs, there's devices, there's ways to do so, and they say that you should connect with those, and there's different like groups, and they have ways and things to do so. But like even with yourself, you say music is a beautiful way, and I know that you also became a father over the production of this album as well, and I can only imagine that that has helped in this decision inside of this process too.
You know, it has. Becoming a father was actually the thing that put the bug in my ear about maybe I have a problem. It started making me look at the life that I was living and question whether or not it was something I wanted to continue. It made me question whether or not the life that I was living was something that I wanted to have my children be a part of. Which was very interesting, because that's the environment I grew up. Alcoholics, and drug addicts. That was the household I grew up in. And I didn't, and then when I was forced to look at that, the answer was no. Like, I don't want my children to grow up the same way that I, you know, and so I wish that it was as simple as, Nevada, my partner, gets pregnant and all of a sudden I just switch and I'm this different person. It wasn't like that. It took a lot of time from there, like it was probably from when my partner Nevada told me that she was pregnant with our first daughter, Aspen. It wasn't for another 2 years until I finally got clean. It took me some time, because like I said, I was really caught up in my addiction. And so the first probably year and a half of my oldest daughter, Aspen's life, I was still using. Which, I've made my amends to her. It's kind of strange making amends to a 2-year-old, but hey, you got to do that. And she doesn't remember any of that. And luckily, though, our second daughter, Bunny, she's never known me to be any other way. She's only 10 months, but, one day at a time, hopefully she'll never have to see me be that way. And the main thing about it, though, that I discovered about being a father and being an addict is that my children and my family in general, everyone that I love, they can encourage me and they can be motivators, but I can't do it for them. I have to do it for me, because that's the only way that it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love my children, right? I'm not sober for them. I'm sober for me. They just one of the gifts is that they get to experience the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's, as they say, you can lead a horse to water, but the horse won't drink unless the horse chooses to drink, right? Like, so it's you have to want the need to change in order for that change to take place. So I'm glad that you found the strength within yourself to not only make that decision, but to work your way through there to get to releasing that incredible album in 2020, and then this latest single as well, which we should probably dive into at some point here. So there was a little bit of time in between the last couple of singles, which released at the tail end of 2020. The album, As the Stars Explode, also in 2020. But now the latest single, which comes off of the album, it comes out 8 months into 2021. So what was the decision to release this single after this amount of time here? And then take us a little bit behind the track itself, and what exactly does it mean to you, Forrest?
Yeah, so really the decision to put it out, it wasn't, Wild Rose Country was not an original single idea. It wasn't a song that we really even considered to be anything other than like a a little golden nugget or an Easter egg on the record, But one of the blessings that this record had sort of brought our way was we started working very closely with some folks down in Nashville named Crystal Shawanda and Dwayne Strobel. Dwayne is Crystal's husband, and they sort of started working with us at first in like a mentorship capacity until eventually leading them to signing us to their record New Sun Music. So the idea for Wild Rose to be a single was actually Dwayne and Crystal's idea. And they sort of came in at an interesting time because when I met Dwayne and Crystal, the record was already done. The record was already done. And we were already planning the release and everything. And, they were really working with us just in a mentorship capacity. I would just have questions and I would call Crystal and we would talk, and, she would bestow her wisdom and guidance on me, which she has amazing things to share about the industry and the way things work. And, so we released the record, and after the record sort of came out, then after we started promoting the record, then the conversation started about, whether or not, we wanted to solidify our working relationship. And so, like I said, they came in at an interesting time because usually what happens is the label is they're spearheading everything, right? They're like, this is the way we promote it. This is the way they set everything up. I had already done all of that. The publicist was in place. The radio trackers were in place. Everything was in place. And the label just sort of came in afterwards to be like, we're going to help guide this one along in any way we can. And then we'll really start on the next one. That was sort of the agreement. And so, after, we had chosen our singles and everything, we were talking, and Dwayne was just like, I feel like, and he said, I feel like this song is a missed opportunity right now. He's like, I've showed it to some people around in our circles, and Wild Rose is a hit. That's what he said. And so we decided, we were like, well, you know what? Like, it was sort of like, this is the first sort of decision that the label is kind of making. But the nature of our working relationship is very mutual, which there is no power dynamic. So we're able to say no to things. But the way I was looking at it was, you know what? This is their first sort of thing that they're putting forward for us to really do. So let's do it. Let's figure out a way to do it. And so, 8 months later, this single comes out, and I don't know. So far, it's been really well received. Like I said, it was not an original song that I had chosen as singles, but that's kind of the benefit of collaborating, working with other people is, they will have ideas that you don't, and sometimes trusting their word and going with the, going with the flow ends up being the best decision.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Absolutely. All right. So they decide that Wild Rose Country is a hit. They want it out into the world. So what was the exact energy that went behind this song that they felt so powerfully about, that they felt was a missed opportunity?
I mean, I'm not I personally think that the song has, sort of a southern rock drive to it. This song was sort of my interpretation of a Blackberry Smoke song. That's kind of what it was, and I think that's sort of the what drew Crystal and Dwayne to it was that sort of Southern drive and sort of that really gritty guitar tone and the big harmonies. That was the thing. The harmonies and the guitar, those were really the things that drew them in. And so, I guess after that, it was just immediately, it was like, well, I gotta get on the phone. I got calls to make, so I called our videographer, Matt Smith, who did our, he did all of our promo photos, and he did our As the Stars Explode sort of promo video and our Heavy Heart music video as well. And we sort of came up with a concept for a video right away, and we got the ball rolling on it really, really quick. And then called up my my friend and publicist Susan, and just sort of made a plan, got it all together, and here we are. I think the song's been out for about a month at this point.
Awesome. All right. So you mentioned the music video. Was that shot there in Saskatoon?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at a couple different locations. Basically what I told, it's kind of funny to look at the video and how it came out, because basically all I told Matt was I want three outfit changes and circles. That's what I want. I don't know what else. And I guess that's one, that's why I'm not a videographer. But two, that's what makes working with Matt so great, is that he allows me, like, knowing that he has the skill set that he has and the talent that he has. I can be as, I don't even know what the word is. I can give very simple ideas like that, and he turns them into, into the Wild Rose music video, which is so much more than outfit changes and circles, the whole idea was basically just to have something that created an essence of a live performance, but had a little something else to it. It wasn't just a performance video, but it also wasn't like a narrative video. It was sort of a combination of the two. And so that really was just that was sort of the main thing, just something really simple, something pretty. We wanted different locations in Saskatoon area. And I really didn't want to overthink it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's sometimes simple can be very nice. It can capture a good energy, and it captured a very lovely energy of you in Nevada sitting there getting encircled, and just very lovely scenery as well. I love the energy that the video adds to the song.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, awesome. Of course, we're trying not to give away too much into the future, but you mentioned that you're working with a new label. They helped with putting out this single and otherwise. So does this mean with some time in between, that means that maybe there was some time for some songwriting and otherwise? Does this mean there's already that next album in the works? What does the rest of 2021 hold here for the North Sound?
Oh, yeah. So kind of one of the nice things about the pandemic and us being quarantined was, like everybody else in the music industry, I had to adapt. I had to figure out, what do I do now? So something that I had wanted to do for a long time was to get proficient enough with Logic to a point where I was able to write and compose and create entire songs, like be able to, because I mean, I am, a bit of a multi-instrumentalist. I use that term very loosely, but I can work my way around, instruments and get what I want out of them. And so I sort of locked myself in the basement for a lot of time during COVID and figured out how do I get listenable demos of entire band recordings. And And so after demoing and writing about 4 albums worth of music, I started writing the album, the next album. And so we're currently in the process of working on the new album. I don't know when it's going to come out yet. I don't know. I don't really know anything about it because I'm very much in like the making of it, you know, the creation of it. So I don't know any details about it, but there is a new album that's in the works.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. New music on the way. The other album still has life, getting some live shone on it, and hopefully getting played in front of some live fans soon as well, with things opening up. So with the potential of getting to play some of these tracks in front of like an actual crowd, what is the anticipation like for that moment?
Well, we had our first show in like a year and a half in front of a live audience a couple weeks ago, and it was really cool because it was just me, Nevada, and my father-in-law playing lap steel with us. And it was really great to do that because, well, one was that I was afraid that I forgot how to talk to people. But I didn't. It all went good. And it was kind of this interesting thing because the nature of the album is recovery. You know, that's sort of what it is that journey of recovery. And I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories on stage. It's one of the, you know, the message, the music is kind of the vehicle for the message, you know? And so it was kind of interesting because of what I was singing about, what I was talking about, and the festival that we were playing kind of has a reputation of being of people go to this festival specifically to just get fucked up in the woods. Like that's what the whole festival is about. And so I'm on stage singing these songs about recovery and telling stories about you know, there's kind of that, okay, like I'm not going to change what I do to cater to an audience, but we'll see how this goes. And it was great. They were so receptive to what we were doing. They loved the stories. And, you know, I swear sometimes it was quite quiet you hear a pin drop, you know, which is a really nice way for us to come back out into the world and perform. And so, yeah, we have 2 shows that we're going to be playing sort of as As the Stars Explode tour. We never got to tour it. And at this point, it kind of feels a little redundant to try and book the whole tour, where I'm sort of chopping it up to, you know, well, the band never toured Big Pink. That's sort of how I'm chopping it up to. So we're playing a show in Saskatoon on September 30th. And then we're playing a show in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan on October 2nd. And then we're kind of going to close the chapter on this album.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So a little bit of a mini tour there. So anyone in Saskatchewan, if you want to get this As the Stars Explode live experience, those are your chances. Make sure to get out for the dates. Hit them up on social media to find out the venues and all of the other details. You know what's good. Yeah. All right. So now that we have talked about this evolution through this time, I have one last question for you, Forrest. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So we've talked about that you've gone through quite the progression as a human being through this time, through the crafting of this album as otherwise. So I'm extremely excited to ask this question. So over the last 3 years of crafting this album, releasing it, finally getting to Wild Rose Country, releasing it as a single, getting signed, having children, all of the things that have happened inside of your life. How has this time helped you grow as a person outside of the things that we've already discussed, or what has it taught you about yourself?
I think the main thing that has taught me about myself is I can't let my mind wander off to anything ahead or behind of where I am right now. You know, I need to stay in the present. You know, the mantra of one day at a time really has ingrained itself in me because, you know, there's nothing but guilt and shame in the past and nothing but fear in the future, you know? So if I stay here and I keep myself grounded and rooted in today and live in the moment at hand, you know, I'm much happier because I can handle this, you know, right here, right now, I can handle this. And that's sort of just been the way that I've been reconditioning and training myself to be is to do that because, you know, I'm able to respond to life as opposed to react to it much easier. You know, I'm able to find gratitude and joy within each moment. And in the not so great moments, I'm able to handle them without running to a bottle or you know what I mean? Like without running for my bubba, you know, I'm able to just, you know, be more accepting of the way that life is. And that is something that I really don't think I don't think enough people in the world. And I'm only saying this as someone who has recently come into this understanding. Not enough people in the world value the moment that we're in. You know, not enough people value the present moment. And my hope is that I don't know. I don't really think I have any hopes for that. That's just how it works for me. You know, that's just how it works for me. And I just all around, I feel like a much better version of myself than I ever thought that I would be. But I definitely feel like I'm stepping into the person that, you know, that my grandmother thought me to be.
Wow. Powerful. Very powerful. And I think your hope is that you can just continue to make the most of each day is what it sounds like.
Well, that's, you know, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I try not to think about it as a hope because I don't want to leave it open-ended. You know, it's less of a hope and more of this is just what I do.
I like that. I like this lesson. I like this perspective, and I have loved this conversation. So thank you so much, Forrest, for joining us here on the Desert Tiger podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. It was great.